HOA forced me to remove my fountain, so I installed a 12-foot waterfall instead. I came to Alder Ridge for quiet. After losing my wife, all I wanted was a garden, a view of the sky, and the sound of running water to anchor me when the nights grew too long. So when I found the little stucco cottage at the end of Blue Oak Lane, tucked beside a man-made creek, I knew it was mine. The first thing I did was rebuild the old fountain out front. My wife, Marcy, had loved fountains. She said water reminded her that time was always moving, and peace came from not fighting the flow. So I restored it stone by stone. Nothing flashy, just a waist-high sculpture with a gentle stream and soft lights at night. The neighborhood seemed friendly enough. A few neighbors waved. Kids rode bikes past the driveway. One elderly man brought me cookies after watching me work with a trowel for 3 days straight. Then came the letter. Violation unapproved fountain structure. Must be removed in 72 hours. It was signed by Karen Ellsworth, president of the Alder Ridge HOA committee. I thought it was a mistake, so I showed up at the HOA office the next morning with my permits in hand. Karen didn't even look up from her laptop. Water features aren't allowed in front yards, but the CC&Rs only mention excessive height. Mine's below the limit. It's permitted by the city. She slid a paper toward me. This is a new amendment, dated yesterday. Correct? I narrowed my eyes. You changed the rules overnight after I installed it. She smiled. Welcome to Alder Ridge. That night, my fountain was smashed. The basin cracked. The lights were pulled out. The pump box was yanked and tossed in the bushes. No note, no warning, just ruin. I stood there at 6:00 Mehmim, barefoot on cold stone, staring at the wreckage with tears and rage burning in my chest. I looked up at the HOA sign across the street. Then I looked at the pile of natural boulders I hadn't yet used. And something inside me whispered, if they fear a fountain, give them a waterfall. I spent the next 3 weeks building, but not just rebuilding. I contacted a water feature specialist. I dug a trench for safe runoff. I laid pipe, recirculating pumps, LED basins, reinforced stone, and terraced spillways. I engineered it to city code, then exceeded it. I wasn't hiding anything. Everything I did was documented, filmed, signed off. Neighbors slowed their cars to watch. One even clapped. Karen drove by twice a day, jaw clenched, fuming. On the 4th week, I lit it. The waterfall roared to life. 12 feet of shimmering stone and cascading light. The sound rolled down the street like peace with a spine. That night, she came knocking. You're mocking me. No, I replied. I'm honoring someone. You're causing unrest in the neighborhood. I raised an eyebrow. With water, you've made your point. Remove it. No. She stepped back. Then you'll face consequences. I smiled. Good. I'd like those on record. The next morning, Karen filed an emergency nuisance claim with the city, but she made a mistake because I'd already filed for a cultural expression installation permit, a lesser-known clause that protects artistic installations tied to cultural heritage or memorial purposes. I filed it under grief therapy, with my late wife's name and documentation from my grief counselor. And guess what? It had been approved. The city clerk called me personally. She's overstepping. That waterfall's legal? So Karen escalated. She called for an emergency HOA vote to fine me $5,000 for community disruption. She posted flyers calling me aggressive and mentally unstable. She even staged a petition signed mostly by fake names. But she didn't count on the one thing I'd built more than stone trust. Theo, the baker, gave me signed footage from his door cam showing Karen's son smashing my fountain that first night. Maria, the teacher, admitted Karen pressured her into signing false violations on other homes. Then came the documents. A man named Felix, an ex-committee member, slid me a thumb drive anonymously. On it, internal HOA memos. Karen ordering preemptive code rewrites to target people she didn't like the look of. One section had my name highlighted: new resident, single male, possible instability. She didn't care about rules. She wanted control. So I decided to take it away. Karen's reign wasn't built on rules, it was built on fear. And once people stopped being afraid, her paper-thin empire started crumbling faster than a dry leaf in a storm. After Felix's thumb drive, I had everything I needed. I shared it with a few key neighbors, the ones still undecided, the ones Karen had leaned on, fined, manipulated, or quietly threatened. Words spread like wildfire. I didn't post it publicly. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of leaking into every mailbox and every coffee conversation in Alder Ridge. And suddenly, Karen wasn't the voice of order anymore. She was the woman who declared war on a grieving widower's garden. But that didn't stop her from trying to bury me. 1 week before the HOA's quarterly general meeting, I got a final notice taped to my front door. The paper shook in my hand as I read it. HOA Emergency Enforcement. Your waterfall installation is deemed a Category 3 structure, posing aesthetic and acoustic disruption. Removal will occur on Friday at 6:10 a.m. Signed again, bold and smug. Karen Ellsworth, President. I didn't flinch. I already had a plan. The backhoe arrived as promised, but so did the neighborhood. Maria, Theo, Felix, the old couple from Lot 12. Even the single dad Karen fined for building a wheelchair ramp for his daughter was there, holding his daughter on his shoulders. They weren't loud. They weren't angry. They just stood. And Karen lost her mind. Move, she barked at them, face flushed. This is illegal obstruction. One of the neighbors stepped forward calmly and said, show us the demolition order. Karen flashed her forged permit, but Felix, with the city planner on speakerphone, said clearly, there is no such order, and that's a fake signature. Karen froze, then tried to push past me. I'll do it myself, she shouted, grabbing the hydraulic lever. But the backhoe operator, a contractor I'd once helped get a city job, shut off the engine and stepped away. Not today, where's ma'am? She turned to the crowd. All of you are complicit, Maria said. We're awake. By 9:00 a.m., 2 city officials and a sheriff's deputy arrived. Karen tried to spin the story. They're obstructing necessary action. That structure violates Ms. Ellsworth, the deputy interrupted. You're under investigation for falsifying municipal documents and unlawful destruction of private property. You are no longer authorized to issue enforcement actions on behalf of Alder Ridge. She gaped. What the official added. The HOA board has called an emergency vote to suspend your authority pending investigation. I am the HOA, not anymore. The meeting that followed was the most crowded in Alder Ridge history. I didn't speak first. Felix did. He showed the documents. Then Theo showed his door cam footage of Karen's son vandalizing my fountain. Then I stood and, for the first time, told them about Marcy, about her fight with cancer, her love of water, and why that fountain had meant something to both of us. Why the waterfall wasn't just decorative, it was healing. Karen stood once, tried to cry, claimed she was misunderstood. Someone from the back said, we understand you just fine. The board voted 6-1 to remove her from the HOA permanently, dissolve all pending violations she had filed in the last 12 months, and audit the financial trail she left behind. Within a week, she was served, not just by the HOA, by the state attorney general. She'd embezzled over $30,000 in fake violation fines and HOA project funds that never existed. Her luxury fence upgrade paid with community money, her office retreat a weekend spa trip in Arizona. She tried to sell her house and no one would buy. By month's end, she was gone. The waterfall stayed, but something else rose with it, a community. We rebuilt the front yard she'd fined. We restored the sandbox she called a safety hazard. We held a water blessing ceremony beneath the cascade, where families lit candles and floated flower petals in the basin. Even the HOA was reborn with a new name, the Alder Circle. Smaller, transparent, rotating volunteers. No president, no crowns, no queens. Just neighbors. But my favorite moment. 2 months later, a little girl from down the street, maybe 6 years old, stood by my waterfall as I swept leaves. She turned and said, I wish I had one of these. It sounds like the sky is breathing. I smiled. Come by anytime. It's for everyone. But just as I started to believe the storm had passed, I received an envelope. No name, just a wax seal with the initials E.S. Inside, a folded note. Karen was a pebble. I am the river. Alder Ridge is not finished. I looked around the neighborhood. Peaceful, blooming, free, and I smiled. Let them come, because we don't fear the river anymore. What do you think? Did Devon go too far? Or was the waterfall the justice the community needed? Should HOAs be abolished or reformed? Share your thoughts below. Your story might just help someone stand up in their own neighborhood.